Okay. Cool. Good to go?
Yes. Good. Ready?
Boobies. Hello.
And hi.
And howdy and happy
Halloween.
Ooh,
Happy
happy Halloween. This is going to come to you tomorrow.
Which is the day after Halloween.
November 1st.
Happy November 1st, you guys.
Boo.
But we're recording on Halloween.
That's right.
So
we're recording on Halloween, just like we did last year.
We did.
I don't remember what we recorded, but we recorded. We might have done Halloween.
Was it Halloween?
I don't think we were smart enough for that, actually.
No, I don't know. No. I think it was something else because I think at that point we had already recorded all of our the month of October.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. So it was for what was after. But
Which have been like Krampus or some shit.
Happy Halloween, you guys.
Who knows?
You're listening to Boobies.
That's right. And we're your hosts. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
So today we're going to be covering the 2005 Amityville horror, because for our live show that we did on the 22nd with the Poltergals, we covered the original 1979, the Amityville horror.
Yes, we did.
Film by the same name. And it was supposed to drop for y'all today on Halloween. But the ghosts or something.
The spirit of the, what were the Fayos?
Yeah, said, I think the fuck not. And made the whole file go disappear.
It got corrupted or something.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we don't have that to put out.
Yeah, we were really hoping for that. And then that would have made this film make a hell of a lot more sense.
Of why we were covering it. But
yeah,
I mean, it's still a horror movie.
That's right.
It's still in the theme.
And we'll just have to either re-record that episode with the Poltergeist someday in actual studio, or if you were there, you were there.
You were there.
So
we're going to just dive right into it, you guys.
That's right.
The Amityville Horror 2005 has Ryan Reynolds, Melissa George, a very young Chloe Grace Moretz. And it was directed by, trying to remember his name, but I'll come back to me in a second.
Andrew Douglas.
There you go.
Yep.
Put that on this one. Yep.
It is based on the murders and the Lutz family moving in. So the DeFeo murders, which happened in
the 70s,
74, I think
74.
And we, the Poltergeist covered all the history on this. Of course, we know a little bit about the history, and I've always been kind of fascinated by this case and stuff. So
yeah.
But I don't remember everything off the top of my head.
So it happened in 1974. DeFeo Butch, oldest son, went in there and killed all of his family members.
Yeah, Ronald Butch DeFeo. And they only bring the Butch in this film. They don't call him Butch in the original, I don't think.
I don't think so.
But that is his actual nickname that he did go by. So that's factual.
Kills the family, but then goes to work, has kind of a normal day until the end of that day-ish, 6:30, then goes to a bar, claims that his family has been murdered, tries to play it off as a mafia hit, but then obviously his story kind of cracks, and then people just, they place the blame on him. His story changes over the years, but then right after that...
he heard voices telling him to do it, stuff like that. And the interesting thing about the case was they were all found face down in their beds with shotgun to the back, which is how
nobody woke up.
Boggles my mind. Which is different in this film with little Jody waking up.
Yeah, it is. And we'll cover that. But originally all this happened, and then a year later in 75, the Lutz family moved in, only stayed for 28 days because they quote unquote experienced some supernatural phenomena, which led them to be scared and flee without ever returning to get any of their belongings. And they basically turned that story into $1 million, and it just kind of kept going and going and going and going. So that's how we get the Amityville horror today.
That's right. And there's like 25 different film adaptations of this. Both of these films are based off of the book that came out not long after the murders, and then 79, that film came out very quickly after the murders as well, because the Lutz family moved in right after the murders. So basically a year had passed, which is just
mind-boggling. Yeah.
And how, I mean, I understand it's the like early 70s, but how in the world that wasn't more like known, you know, when they were moving in, like how the fuck did no one be like, yo.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, a lot of small towns like to like keep their shit hush hush.
Yeah, but the news like existed, and it didn't feel like a cross country move for me. Like it felt like they were just somewhere else in New Jersey, New York kind of area,
upstate.
Yeah, and then moved
East
into
Coast.
it.
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like you probably still heard about
it.
The
whole thing is there's skepticism, right? Because there's claims that they made all this up. So That's true. Maybe they did know that this happened, and they moved in there with the intention of making all this up.
That's true.
Yeah.
Something that I found today while just researching a little bit more about the Amityville horror and the actual case that I thought was super interesting that I hadn't realized, and it ties back to The Conjuring 2 with the opening and the Warrens at the Lutz DeFeo house.
Oh, gotcha.
With the little boy running around with the glowing eyes.
Oh,
that's an actual, based off of an actual photo that they captured.
Yeah. I saw that photo.
I hadn't seen
where
that.
there was a little boy with glowing eyes. Yeah. And
which
he was kind of
obviously
looking off the side.
that could still be
doctored.
Yeah.
But
staged.
still, but it was also back in the day. So like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But who's to know?
That was cool, and I wish we could have brought that up during the
last episode that we tried to do for the live show. Yeah.
Well, or the actual like Conjuring 2 one.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, and they said that it's maybe it's supposed to be one of the
sons,
John,
the little DeFeos. Yeah.
Funny. I mean, that's very
freaky.
Clearly a little boy, but the eyes glowing could be. I mean, that could be anything. Just like how every picture I have of the cats from my
their eyes
cat
glow.
camera.
Or back in the day when you take pictures, you get red eye. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So there's just a reflective.
All of that happening. That's how we're jumping into this movie, you guys. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into it.
It's already different.
Yeah, it's way different.
The basement in a more prominent role.
It does, yeah.
And they're really leaning into the Native American narrative.
Yeah, they are. Time. They do. And that whole the voices and the catch them, kill them kind of thing with this one,
which is a dumbass pun, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't like it either
because it's supposed to be the original owner.
Ketchum.
Yeah, of the house or the basement, because that was the original part built in 1692 or whatever.
Yeah, and with just it's all made up for this movie because it's just like that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And so we have our opening, and we actually hear or have the scene of Butch. He's on a bed. He's kind of hearing voices. He's prepping to murder his family.
He looks like he's being hypnotized or some shit.
He's under the influence of something.
Yeah.
And he's going in. He does start shooting, starting with the father and the mother's bedroom. That's when I think Jody wakes up, hearing that noise, which is
gunshot thunder scenes are very reminiscent of the first film.
Yeah, it is. Because it was a storm too.
I liked the way that this was being shot here. I didn't mind that. I do have a really big issue with Jody waking up
because they weren't supposed to wake up. The whole story is that they were shot and nobody woke up, and that's how strange it is because nobody fucking woke up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there were no sedatives, nothing in their system. So that it is super bizarre. I feel like they were trying to tie in the closet scene with the girl.
Scene? Oh, yeah.
Like with the original film, the girl blooding her knuckles, and then later the baby,
why
both
she's in there.
Yeah. Bloodying their knuckles because she ends up bloodying hers as well.
Yeah. That's probably why I set up just a little.
Yeah. I think that was why they went that route, but still like they could have just done the original,
also,
and then Jody could have been creepy in the closet.
Well, in the originals as well, if y'all have seen them, the 79, it does not show like little ghostly kids or anything. You see a chair move, or like a chair not even moving, just a chair, and you're supposed to like have the imagination of something is there. Like it gives you the feeling that something is there.
Yeah.
And this one, you blatantly see it, and I don't like it. I was just like, this is too much. And it's just, I just didn't like it.
I prefer like the rocking chair scene happening in the 79 version where the rocking chair is just like,
yeah.
I was like,
way better. It's more creepy as opposed to actually seeing her, and the makeup wasn't good, and like it just she didn't fit, and
she felt very like malevolent, but also supposed to be innocent.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So it was very confusing in my brain, her entire existence, because then she's like obviously being tormented by another spirit in the house,
who's making her do all this
bad
shit
things and stuff, but then she also kind of seems like a little bitch herself.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's a whole lot of
like a 5-year-old
creative.
Bitch? I don't know.
Whole lot of you are, and a whole lot of creative like licensing on like the people who made it. They really went their own way with it.
So I think there was some issues with I believe we talked about it in the live show, but I don't remember what was said now.
Of what?
But like with how they had to change it to 412 Ocean Avenue. Instead of the actual address.
Yes.
Or even using 108, because I believe at the time 108 had already been the like address that it was changed to instead of 112.
For some reason they had to change it. I don't remember the names. I think it was because of all the attention that the house would get, and the rest of the like people in the street, the neighborhood were just like,
please make something up.
Yeah, exactly, because this is too much.
Also,
it's very disruptive.
I think I've said this in the live show, but every time I hear Ocean Avenue, I just can only think of Yellow Card.
Because it's a song, right? Yeah. And so we have this whole scene happening.
Amityville was the place he was talking about.
Maybe it was.
There's a place off Ocean Avenue where I used to sit and talk with you. Jody. He would talk with the ghosts. He's actually a paranormal researcher.
Some people even write stuff after seeing things because they're just inspired by it. So maybe he watched the movie and then like 3 weeks later subconsciously was just
he's never even been to Ocean Avenue.
Yeah, like subconsciously 3 weeks later he's just like, Ocean Avenue. Oh, that works. Ocean Avenue. But like it's because he watched the movie right before.
Yeah. I like to believe that.
And so then we get a title card after he kills and finds Jody in the closet. And she's like, why are you doing this? And he's like, I love you, Jody. Bam. Title card. We get some credits, which is basically like, it's like a 8th grade middle school person put some footage together of like police and like stuff over it, overlays, and like it's basically paper clippings of like what happened and what transpired. You know, it was strange that there wasn't a stir in the night, nobody woke up.
It's kind of giving you some backstory without having to fully lay it out for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
In a very abstract manner, but also straightforward.
I was like, oh, okay, that looks like an 8th grader did it. And then just going over all the details, and then we get our protagonist, I guess, in a way. George and mom.
Kathy.
I called her a lot. Kathy Lutz. George and Kathy Lutz, and they're in bed.
Scares him.
They're canoodling.
It's a scary movie, so he goes, go.
Yeah. And we have them kind of being flirty in bed, but then the little boy comes in, John. Michael. Oh yeah, it's different, and their names are so Chelsea, Michael, and Billy. Yeah. And I'm just like, what? Okay.
I think for some reason there was some sort of like thing where they couldn't use most of the actual names. They couldn't use most of the actual stuff.
When I was watching this, I was like, I don't remember that being the name. Well, it's Chelsea, because that's not the original girl's name. Chelsea Lutz is not her name, right?
No,
yeah,
I don't think so.
When they kept saying Chelsea,
There's
I was like,
Daniel.
Yeah.
That's all I remember, because Daniel's the one who came and spoke out about his my Amityville horror.
I don't know. We'll have to look into it. But he comes in and basically interrupts. He cock blocks, essentially, is what is going on
with his goggles on. What a fucking weirdo!
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. It was such a sweet interaction that he had with Michael. Whenever Michael's like, "What are you doing to my mommy?" And he's like, "Nothing."
With George, yeah, Michael, right? Yeah.
And then they have that sweet interaction. He's like, "Do I have to call you Dad now?" And he's like, "Call me whatever you want." And he's like, "Stinky." Poo-poo butthead face or something.
The original kids' names were Daniel, Christopher, Missy, Lutz. Then they had Missy, and then they had kids after that, Noel and Gabriel.
Damn, they need to stop popping out kids if they have money problems.
Yeah, I guess the 2 younger ones were his actual kids.
Gabriel?
Gabrielle, my bad.
Gabrielle.
Yeah, that's a Gabrielle.
Those are the new ones?
Yeah. like between him and Kathy, because I remember the other 3 weren't his.
Yeah. Stepdad.
Yeah. And so anyways, we have that happening, have that cute interaction where he's like, you can call me whatever you want, and calls him poopy face, all that shit. And then that's whenever George goes downstairs and he's cooking them all breakfast.
Like
and
a
then,
fucking psychopath.
Yeah, it's not
Who
good.
Who the hell cooks eggs like that?
It didn't look good at all.
That's like one of the easiest fucking things to make.
Yeah, it didn't look good.
It was all in the burner.
And Billy obviously did not like it because he was like, this shit sucks.
Yeah. And he was like, yeah, no kidding.
Mm-hmm. And then that's when we get our little young Chloe Grace Moretz, little CGM. And I was like, whoa.
Getting her hair
so
did.
Yeah, she had to be like, what? I don't even know, like 6, 7.
Yeah, she was small.
I don't even know if that. And so they're leaving Kathy and George because they're gonna go look for houses.
Mm-hmm. And she found one in the paper, just as we did.
Happened to be what is
412
412 Ocean Avenue.
And this lady's got a briefcase too.
Yeah, the
just
realtor.
like the OG realtor did
the original
as well.
79. And she's showing them the house. She's kind of going the aspects over the house, everything but the murder.
Yeah.
Essentially, she's evading that.
Because as we talked about, there's in some places you don't have to disclose if there's a murder in a place unless the person asks.
Yeah.
And then so eventually they do. They're like, what's the catch? But I don't know. The exterior is looking more rough this time than I think it did in the original. It looked very... Homegirl needed a paint job.
Yeah. She needs some love, some TLC.
Chipped.
Of course. Yeah. And there's an old house, I'm sure.
But the interior still looked incredible.
Yeah.
Except for that nasty, weird fucking mold patch on the ceiling.
There's always a mold patch in a big old creepy house.
And that's where we got I feel like that was the green ooze from the original Haunting that was supposed to come into play, because you don't get much more of that. Like in the original, we had the blood dripping down the walls, which was supposed to be reminiscent of the green ooze coming from the wall.
Yeah.
But
that happens in this one a few times too. Blood coming from like that light switch, not necessarily the wall.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen. That literally, I think, only happens that one time. Yeah. And then we see the blood happening later, but it's in that room, the torture room or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But never any green ooze. No.
I feel like that was closest we got.
Ryan is asking her like, what's the catch? Before they end up leaving, and that's when she ends up disclosing that there were murders that happened in the house only like a year ago. And that's when they got kind of a little put off, and they kind of look at each other, but they're like, he's like, you want this house, I love you, so let's do it.
People kill people, houses don't kill people.
Exactly.
And while we're going through the house, creaking and shadows like are already showing.
Oh yeah,
the hauntings, like
even she saw something.
Yeah. And
the realtor,
Edith, I think was her name. She wasn't wanting to go downstairs. Like whenever they went into the basement, she was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And she stayed upstairs. And then that was when George found the clock stopped at 3:15. And it looked like it looked identical to the clock from the first movie.
Yeah.
From 79. I was like, I wonder if that was like the same.
Intentional.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
And it's time to move in. So it's kind of like they get that happy-go-lucky feeling music going on. They're all moving in. It's kind of very reminiscent to me of like The Conjuring when all the kids move in into the house.
And we get our day one. We don't get as many like
in this one
days.
The other one you got every single day. Right?
Almost
yeah.
minus like 5 or something. They went from like day 15 or something to day like 24. That was literally 10. I don't know how to count. But yeah, same idea. We get like day one and then like maybe 3 total. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very like cutesy little home video with a not relevant time period piece of music playing, but whatever. That's just a little thing they could have done better.
Well, and then they start to move in. Movie. And this movie loves montages. Like throughout the entire thing, there's so many montages, and we get one right now where they're moving in and stuff, and getting everything put into the house. And that's whenever after that, the day is kind of ending, and we have the mom coming into the boys' bedroom, and she's saying, "Did y'all say your prayers?" And little Daniel's like, or Michael was like, "I said them twice." Yeah, how annoying. And that's whenever we get an interaction with Billy, and she's like, You know, what did he say? Oh, prayer didn't work on like dad didn't die.
Yeah, he said nobody answered me when I asked for dad to be kept alive.
Right.
Because he was like, why don't you just go ahead and tell him that prayers don't work? And she was like, what? And he was like, nobody answered me when I asked for dad to be kept alive.
Yeah.
So I do like how this one kind of explains what happened to their original father. Not that it's really necessary, but I just think that it was a nice
touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it adds an extra wedge between George and the family.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's what happened.
Because we didn't even see that in the first one. No.
Yeah. But it gives him just enough more to feel like, yo, I'm not
they already
ever
were
going to be a part of this.
As well. And then like with the influence of the spirits and the evilness of the house, like that just made it even worse. Yeah. I feel that.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
From the host of the popular podcast, The Only One in the Room, Stash by Laura Cathcart Robbins is a propulsive and vivid memoir about the journey to sobriety and self-love amidst addiction, privilege, racism, and self-sabotage. Best-selling author Holly Whitaker calls it an irresistibly delicious story. And MacArthur Foundation fellow and best-selling author Kiese Lehman says Stash is emotionally riveting. Buy Stash by Laura Cathcart Robbins now, wherever books are sold.
Okay, but then after Billy's being, not sarcastic, just fucking cynical as fuck, we then go into the parents' room, and I did like how they had
George was listening that whole time over eavesdropping. Remember?
Oh, yeah, he was adding yet another layer of why they don't like each other.
Yeah.
But they had the same mirrors behind the bed.
Yeah, they do. That's
which
like the
I was
original.
Like, cool.
Yeah.
I hate them, but cool. I don't.
Does that
hate
mean
them.
that the house has that?
I
Is
think
that
it
why
does.
they're staying so original to that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it did, but also I don't actually know.
Actually, I'm really thinking about it now. Set design, right? They built these houses. So they didn't film in the actual house.
Yeah, they most of the shots were just the exterior. Did you know that in 2010 they had a garage sale of all the Lutz stuff that was left in the house?
Like an estate sale?
Uh-huh.
Wait, had nobody lived there before, or they just had it like in a different place? Like
I guess they just had
unit?
it somewhere else, and then they were like, okay, we have to do something with this. So they just sold it off.
Wow.
And they said, like, no cameras. Blah, blah. And people
That's
came in.
crazy. But really cool, actually, as well. Wish I would have known, but I was also 14.
In high school. Yeah.
Literally. And so, was I 14? I don't even know. No.
I don't know how old I was ever. I don't know how old I am now.
And so, anyways, that's whenever
Oh, they get a phone call from
they
mom.
get a phone call from mom. That's right. And
She
then
rude AF.
she doesn't like George. And then I can already tell from that. She starts talking to her mom. Kathy is already like doing this little hand motion with little things. She doesn't sound like she wants to talk to her mom. It sounds like every conversation that I usually have with my mom. Because it's like, yeah, okay, got it. Okay, mom. Like she's usually just like about something that she wants me to do or needs me to do or feels like I need to do.
And while this is happening, George is hearing some noises from weird floor vents. And I was just like, yet another reason not to trust him. I already have a weird, irrational fear of them thanks to the movie Milo. We should cover Milo next week.
Okay. I don't know what that is.
It's so obscure. That's the one that made me afraid of the floor vents. With that little kid in the raincoat that looks like a Jawa or something. And yeah.
Okay, Milo.
We should cover that. That'd be funny.
Okay.
It's like such trash horror, I'm sure.
Okay, let's cover it.
I haven't seen it since I was like 10 because it scared the shit out of me.
Let's watch it and then decide if we want to cover it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And so we he also keeps mentioning that it's drafty. Like he feels a draft. He's always cold. He's like, this house is so goddamn cold.
I like that the furnace was in the basement, which because most of the time furnaces are, but that was yet another reason for him to be in the basement. So that was
because he said it's the only place that's warm.
Yeah, because it's right next to the furnace. So instead of being in front of the fireplace, like stoking the fire, he was down in the basement.
And so he's hearing all these like whispering voices, the clocks, and then at that point, doesn't he? Oh yeah,
we're having our 3:15 a.m. sex scene.
Exactly, because the I'm sorry, you guys. I'm eating chocolate, and I can't eat chocolate and talk at the same time, apparently. The clock stops at 3:15, which is the same time that the murders happen.
Mm-hmm.
And we hear a little
just
static.
Like the original.
And then they start to have sex. Literally. And then, but as they're having sex, he looks over her shoulder and he sees Jody hanging.
Which is like, I don't think you get to like make up how you died in the afterlife just to scare people.
Because she didn't die like that at all. I think it tries to tie in because that's how the other dudes catch him.
True. Well, didn't he slit his throat though, so he'd live forever?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Man, I really just felt like it kind of just like Beetlejuice. Like, you know, just sitting there trying to scare them, doing different ways to scare them to get them out of your house.
It's true.
Kind of thing.
That's what it gave Poltergeist.
Although she's like
situation.
5, so who knows?
And so the next day they're hanging up clotheslines. They're outside. Ryan, he looks sick. He's like coughing and it doesn't sound good. And that's when we have Kathy like doing laundry or something. And she hears Chelsea playing with someone. And she goes into the bedroom. And that's when we see Jody. But she obviously doesn't see Jody.
Yeah.
And this Jody spirit is telling her to like be quiet, not tell her about her. And she's playing with the little Etch-a-Sketch. She shows her this really
Abraham
fucked
Lincoln.
up Abraham Lincoln, yes. And like, was Jody telling her who killed him? Really? Like, she had the real tea.
Yeah.
And then that's whenever Ryan is chopping wood, essentially, and he's making the boys like carry the wood. I believe at that, or maybe not yet.
Not yet.
Mm-hmm.
But they're doing a pretty good job of
that's
sticking
because
to
I was
the
like,
original here.
Yeah, I remember the little boy, Michael. He comes up and he brings him whatever this little
That
thing
fucking
is.
torture device.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be locked in the basement in the sealed off room, but somehow Michael found it. So we'll just let them have
him
that.
and Harry.
Yeah.
Harry is the dog in this one.
Which Harry was the one who found the creepy room in the OG. So it's like, okay. But I don't know. But anyways, basically, so at this point, does she leave though? And then they can't find, or she comes back and she's like, where the fuck is Chelsea?
No, that's not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Then I definitely skipped a lot in my notes.
So he makes little boy cry.
Oh, right.
Michael.
And he's like,
I'm sorry. They come back with groceries and she's like, tells the boys to help her unpack. And so they go into the house and they're unpacking. And that's whenever, no, you're right. Where's Chelsea? Sorry. And that's whenever they go into the boathouse because they see a red balloon sticking out of it.
Yeah, well, they don't see that yet.
Oh.
They see that later. But
that's
they
right.
basically just automatically know the boathouse for some reason, which doesn't make any sense. Like, did they just not show us them searching through the rest of the house? But yeah, then they go in there and Chelsea's in the boathouse, in the boat with a little red balloon. And I was like, what is this? Like, what's going on?
Very much we all float down here.
Yeah. You'll float too. You'll float too.
And then Jody wanted to see the boat. That's what her excuse is.
And it's like, oh, I don't like that.
And then mom
excuse.
is mad at fucking George because she's like, well, someone should have been watching you.
And so
like,
now
no.
we're getting a little riff between them. Fissure.
And that's when we have George locking the boathouse. So we get that it's locked. So nobody should be in there.
And it shouldn't be
point.
open. Just like the first one. We get a very, very point blank scene of him locking the house, or the boathouse. There should be no question in your mind that the boathouse is locked.
And so after that, we get a scene of little Michael. He needs to get up to pee. He goes to the restroom, but I think before that, he does look out the window and sees the boathouse. Freaks him out. He ends up going to the restroom.
I would also wake my brother up to go pee in that house.
Oh,
I would be like, same. And I mean, I don't know. I've watched
but
some
Billy
other
didn't want
things,
to go with him.
and everyone's like, "That's not Billy's fucking problem." I'm like, "Yes, it is. That house fucking creepy."
Yeah,
you gonna pee
well,
with
he's
me
also
every
little,
time.
so it's understandable.
Yeah,
he's a little kid, and so that's whenever they he ends up having this old creepy ass like wet bloody lady popping up behind him. Which I'm just like, is that supposed to be the mom?
No, I think that's supposed to be one of the original torture victims.
Gotcha. Because I was like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah. Most of the spirits that were there didn't, other than Jody didn't seem to be any of the DeFeos.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that they were all supposed to be
the people who were tortured.
Yeah, the golem-like creatures in the basement. So I'm guessing that's what that was.
At this point, blood also comes from the tap.
Yeah.
So that's cool. He freaks out, goes and runs to his room, obviously.
It's a solid little jump scare, but it's also just kind of comical. Like once you sit there and like, oh, because then this thing's just like,
yeah,
with like blood.
And he ends up running to his bedroom and getting under the covers as one would. Yeah. Very Conjuring 2.
I put same Michael. And so was, that was Conjuring 1 whenever she came up and was doing laundry and heard Chelsea talking to the little girl. And it.
Yeah.
What's his name?
In the Conjuring?
Yeah.
Robbie? No.
Is it? It's something
Ronnie?
with an R.
Rory.
There we go. Yeah. But at this moment too, I believe this is when all the windows open.
All the windows open,
right?
The chairs move. You can definitely see like a little draft come in with all the little curtains. Yeah.
And it's giving us some more actual poltergeist things, which is what was supposed to have happened.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a poltergeist. So that was
not like these spirits that are like taunting them and torturing them and stuff.
Yeah. And
so sorry, but that's at this point he has that dream, right? George, he has a dream where he like wakes up and I guess he ends up walking to the boys' bedroom and he sees him in there with the shotgun and blood all over the sheets and the blood on the boys and stuff.
Then he turns it on himself.
Yep. And he actually wakes up and it's 3:15.
Yep. And then he sees the red balloon come out of the boathouse.
So he thinks Chelsea is in there again.
And we get a shirtless Ryan Reynolds scene, which I was talking.
His body at this point.
He's fucking ripped. So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He used to be so ripped.
So I was talking with someone about it and they were like, I just don't understand why he has to have so many shirtless scenes. And I was like, the original Homeboy has a lot of shirtless scenes.
And he's in his underwear.
Also has a full-on pantless scene.
Yeah,
you can see his bulge.
I was hoping we would get one with Ryan in this one.
Yeah, no, but we did get those pajama pants sitting real low, like right above where his dick starts.
And you get like the V line and everything.
Yeah. There's another moment too where he just had like this like real thin like raglan t-shirt on, and his shoulders were just like so perfectly built, and then it had that little dip, like where his t-shirt didn't even touch his shoulders because or like strong. The inner of his back. Yeah, his back just looked really good.
Caitlin's getting wet right now.
Ryan Reynolds back fan club. So is Allison out there.
Yeah,
as we know, that's her favorite.
And so that's whenever
y'all don't know.
We know all of it. And so that's whenever the dog is barking, but no one's out there. He thinks she's drowning because he sees like a little air bubble come up from the water, and he drives in, but obviously nobody's down there.
Also, is this a swimming pool? That's a fucking clearest lake I've ever seen.
Yeah, seriously.
That would be the only lake I feel okay swimming in.
I want to go there.
I don't want none of that murky shit.
And then Harry is afraid of George, I feel like, because he like tries to like look at him, and George like looks at him and he's like, arr. And then that's whenever he looks up there at the like windows in the attic where Chelsea sleeps.
The eyeballs,
those fucking
the portals
eyeballs.
to hell.
Yeah. And he sees Chelsea or Jody, I mean.
He sees Jody up in one window.
Jody next to Chelsea in the other one. Yeah.
And then, but by the time he gets up there, Chelsea's sound asleep, fast asleep in her bed.
Everything's normal. Yeah. Lights are off. And he goes into the closet because he like for some reason wants to go in there, and we just see Jody like being held by this hand and like screaming for her life at the top
on the ceiling.
At the ceiling,
which that was the thumbnail for the film. Whenever I clicked on it to watch it,
and he doesn't notice her at all, but picks up a little teddy bear that he ends up giving to Chelsea to sleep with.
Puts it right in her little bed, and it's like. That's a weird looking teddy bear.
Yeah.
Looks like some shit I'd have on my shelf, but not that I
definitely wasn't even hers. Yeah. And then that's whenever
we question it a little bit. Maybe.
Like he didn't even like. I'm sure he knew that, but that was probably the influence of the house, maybe because it was supposed to be Jody's. But anyways, that's whenever at that same time, I think he goes back downstairs and there's like something behind the wall in the basement.
Yeah,
Harry's hearing all those noises.
Well, and Harry's digging.
That's right.
Harry's already digging. We didn't even have to wait till the end of the movie. Harry's like,
there's something there.
Yep. And he's trying to get, and I think he does hear people like little whispers coming from behind the wall.
He smells the evil. And that's whenever at this point too, just George is not himself. Like he definitely and clearly is like losing his mind, losing himself in this. And we get a flash card to day 15. And then it's I keep calling him Ryan in my notes, Ryan, but George is talking to Billy. And he's basically saying like he's blaming him for what was it again?
Unlocking
the boathouse, right? But he's like, I didn't do it.
Because he said he found the keys with Billy's things or something like that. Or like in his pants pocket. I don't really remember at this point. But he's basically blaming Billy.
Yeah. Which essentially then he's like, well, I'm going to like punish you for this.
Yes. Your punishment is to chop wood. Gonna make a 12-year-old chop wood. Okay. Sounds good to me.
And so they end up doing that. That's whenever they're back at the house and Miss Kathy is watching them through the window. She already like can tell that she's not happy. Like she doesn't really like the way that he's
be fucking pissed if someone's making my kid chop wood too.
Punishing the kids. And she sees the letters on the fridge that are like magnetized, rearranged to catch him, kill him. And she's like, what the fuck is that? And so when she leaves to go look for George, but then comes back to the kitchen and he's there drinking milk like a madman. The letters are all back to normal, and she's like, did you do that with the letters? And he looks at them and she's just like, never mind.
She'd also saw a shadow rush past at that point too.
Yeah.
All I have is his outfit is a little repulsive.
Oh, when they go on the date.
Oh yes, it must be that. Yes.
Yeah, because they're getting ready. They go on to go on a date. That's whenever the babysitter from hell shows up.
Who the fuck
hires this to be a fucking babysitter?
She's like, I found a babysitter on the like fucking cork board at the grocery store.
Yeah, like, literally.
You just hire everything from a
corkboard in a grocery store, especially to watch her kids. And so that's whenever she comes in, she takes off her long like pimp jacket coat,
and she's got
no clothes on.
No, her entire like it's a tie top, but it's right under her boobs, like with her bra. So her entire midriff, Britney Spears, is showing.
Yeah, like, very I'm a slave for you.
Yes.
And so and that's whenever because the whole time Billy's been like, I don't want a babysitter. I don't want a babysitter. And now he's like, well, I want a babysitter.
I want a babysitter. I want this babysitter. And it's like, no, any self-respecting parent, I feel like would be like,
no, yeah.
Put some fucking clothes on
did you
or
come
get
to watch
the fuck
my
out of
kids
my
like
house.
That? Yeah.
Yeah. That's a little sketch.
Well,
and then they also don't
weird.
Introduce him to any of the other kids.
No,
only
it's just her, Billy.
Only Billy.
And that's whenever, and I'm just like, also too, why is this woman like, she's way over age, like 20s, late 20s probably. Like why? I don't know. I feel like they were trying to pass her off as like an older teenager or something.
Oh no, but yeah, she looked. I mean, she looked older than me.
And that's whenever she mentions that she used to sit for the DeFeos as well. Yep. So she knew the family before them. And then they kind of are like, well, that's weird, but they're like, whatever, we have plans, so we're leaving.
Yep. Bye.
And so they leave them. Yeah. And that's whenever we have the parents they're at a restaurant or something.
Shit ass little Italian restaurant.
They're just kind of talking, whatever. And then
it's probably delicious.
Yeah.
Any of those ones that look like that, little mom and pops are
pretty good.
And they're in Long Island. Of course it's delicious.
And so that's
actual Italian there.
They're just kind of chatting. It's really honestly not that deep of exposition, but it does add to more just like, the house is kind of a lot, but like, do you still love me? She's basically like saying, and he's like, I want you. I've never been more clear. Like, I want you. This and that. He's like, I actually feel better now that I'm out of the house. Which every time that he's out of the house, he's fine. It's
he looks remarkably better.
Yeah, it's that house.
And they get him out of the house several times.
So it's just like when he goes to the doctor and he's already like, well, I already feel better just getting out of the house.
Yeah.
And so that's like, it was blatantly mentioned so many times. We cut to the babysitter smoking pot.
Yep.
In the restroom.
Smoking in the bathroom.
And Billy's like, hi, you're supposed to be watching us.
And would you like some popcorn?
Yeah.
The big ass bowl of popcorn.
And that's whenever she starts telling them the story of the DeFeos and how they died in that room.
Laying on his bed. And it's like, girl, are you seriously sexually coming on to
Yeah, literally, because then she was like, do you do any tonguing or something like that?
Yeah, she said, do you
Frenching.
French?
Yeah.
And he was like, what? And she was like, kissing.
And she like stuck out her tongue because of the Gene Simmons poster and was talking about their tongues. And I was just
she's like, some people say that it's fake, but I think that it's real.
Yeah, it was really weird. I was just like, this is giving Predator vibes.
Yeah. And the way she like perches herself over the back of the bed with her.
She is being inappropriate.
I put being a fucking pedo.
Yeah. And so that's whenever she starts telling them deeply about how the DeFeos, like what happened, her all about Butch, because apparently she knew Butch, gave that she dated him or something, and then how he lost it one night and just started killing everybody, and how he killed the boys in that room. And that's whenever Chelsea comes in and she's like, well, Jody says you're a fucking sucky babysitter and you're a piece of shit.
And meanwhile, like before that, Michael had walked up too, right. And so she was like, cover your ears. And it's like, bitch, if you really want someone to cover, like, I'm sorry, but this 5-year-old or whatever he is, 9,
you gotta be
8,
7, 8.
he's not going to cover his ears.
No, he's obviously going to want to hear it, but she doesn't. And then she dives right into it. Yeah.
And talking about these gruesome murders, and she was like, in these beds.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, yeah, it did seem so I was reading it was only an additional $400 for the Lutz to buy all the furniture that was in the house left from the DeFeos. So a lot of
that shit was already from them. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's bad juju.
So the frames, maybe, yes. I'm sure it wasn't the actual steel box springs with their blood on it.
You never know. They could have just put sheets over that and turned over the bed.
A little OxyClean.
Mm-hmm. And so we have them ending up going to Chelsea's bedroom, and they end up showing her the closet. And she's mentioned something about the closet for some reason, but for some reason she ends up going in there because that's where Jody was found dead. And she goes in there, and that's whenever and
she also talked about she thinks that the dog or something is out to. She says it, but she thinks that the dog was out to get him, so he kills the dog, and then the same with his family. Mm-hmm. So he mentioned something about killing the dog.
Yeah, because that obviously comes up later.
Yeah,
and so
even though the whole ending of the first or the original was them saving Harry.
Yeah,
Harry's name was the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so were George and Kathy's.
And so we have the babysitter getting locked in the closet, and she's like pounding on the door, fearing for her life. And then that's whenever she ends up having seeing Jody in the closet, and Jody has the little bullet hole in her head, and she makes the babysitter like stick her finger in it.
Look what Ronnie did.
And that's whenever she's freaking out even more. She ends up pounding on the door so much that like her fucking fingers and knuckles are just bloody,
which makes a little more sense as to why her knuckles would be bloody as opposed to the 79 version with the babysitter who just loses her mind after 1 minute of being locked in there. Yeah. Although she could be claustrophobic. Who knows?
And that's whenever the kids are getting in trouble. Billy and Michael are getting yelled at by George because he's like, well, he thinks basically they played a prank on her. And he's like, y'all hurt her. Y'all can't be doing that. And that's whenever Kathy walks in and she's like, George, like, calm down. Like, you need to get a hold of yourself because you're trying to get a hold of them, but you don't even have control of yourself. And
he's sitting there saying, like, mad. I'm going to do the disciplining, which is very reminiscent of what George did. Yeah. In the original, too.
And that's whenever we have the mom the next day, or not the next day, my bad. The mom with Chelsea in bed asking her, like, why, what happened? And she's just like, well,
Lisa was being mean to Jody, so Jody hurt her.
Yeah, casual. Exactly. And then basically was also much like Jody doesn't like Jody likes you. She thinks you're a good mommy, but Jody doesn't like the man who lives in the house. She says he's bad.
He makes Jody do bad things.
Which I think at this point Kathy is thinking that that's George.
Yeah, probably.
And so then the next day we have George making Billy put up wood. I guess he's still, out there with him. Well, George is chopping it and Billy's putting it up. And then we have Billy still outside at this point, chopping wood while they're all eating dinner. And
I can't believe they just left him out there by himself.
Right. And Kathy's questioning, like, is this like punishment or torture? And he's just like, well, basically, since his dad's dead, I'm going to punish him anyway. I have to do it.
And whenever she said that, he goes, well, this is Meatloaf or something. And it was a little Meatloaf callback to the original girl, the original daughter, when she was like, I wasn't sick. I just didn't want to eat meatloaf from the 79. Sorry, it made me think of that. But then, he was like, his dad's not around to teach him, is he? And it's like, damn. Yeah, it's George being deep. A fucking dick. Yeah. That's like, he can't help that his dad's dead. What the fuck, dude?
And then that same night, we have them, he's in the basement, and that's when we have the boys. He's hearing them talking through the vents, and they end up saying like he's crazy or something like that. I don't even know.
Yeah, I feel like the spirits are probably also a little manipulating what he's hearing.
True.
And he's then also hearing the catch him, kill him.
And he's hearing voices on the other side of the wall again.
And then we see the weird morgue tables in the basement. And
it's like sacrificial ritual, like torture chamber
area. It looks like the opening of Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, I can see that.
I was like, what?
And then I'm like, I can't tell if this is fake or real, but I think that was all like a fever dream, maybe, or I don't know.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell
because
at this point.
I think it was a dream of sorts.
Because the next day we have him puking again. He's like puking his guts out
because he wakes up to, or it flashes, I guess, to him because he sees himself there laying on the morgue table.
Oh, that's right.
And it says his head like turns to him and he goes, kill him. And then he wakes up and he's like, bleh.
Yeah. And then that's whenever
and his eyes are looking hella rough.
They
just
are.
like original George Lutz's.
And I thought something was going to be in the
79.
mirror, but nothing's in the mirror. And then quickly after that, as he's pouring his bath, we have him getting into the bath, which once again, we get like an almost full body shot of Ryan Reynolds naked. Very nice. And he freaks out because these arms start wrapping around him.
Cliche
as anyone
in
would
the
in the bathtub. Yeah.
Bathtub.
I like how it's him though and not like a woman, because that most people like put like a woman in there and she's all like getting naked, all like sexy.
With her titties out.
But he just comes in and he's like
with his dick out.
abs out. I know. I wish the dick would have been out. And so then he ends up.
What if it's not good enough to show?
Who knows? He's a classy dame. I feel like he was like, I'm not.
There's
not enough money in the world, not even for Deadpool. And so that's whenever what? Oh yeah, that's Kathy. And Kathy runs in because she's like, "What the fuck?" And then she's just like, "Baby, it's me. I got you. I got you." And at that point, she does not ask enough questions. But whatever.
Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
because he's bleeding.
Yeah, because he hit his head
so hard
on the thing from freaking out. And that's when we get him going to the doctor the next day.
Or was it just the base of the tub?
I think it was just the base of the tub because he was thrashing so hard.
Honestly better, because have you ever like been in the tub and then lifted up with your head towards the faucet side and hit your head?
I've hit my head on a lot of other things, so I can feel what that might think of. It sucks.
A terrible pain.
And so we have him going to the doctor the next day, and the doctor's like, "Are you on any like narcotics?" Like, and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna definitely consider to take some now." And he's like, "No," and the dude's like, "Well, there's nothing wrong with you. There's no concussion. You seem fine now." And he gives him a little pin, a little, what's it called? Reference for a psychiatrist. Cause he's like, these honestly sounds like you have some like mental issues. So you should probably just like check it out. And he's like, "You think I'm crazy?" And he's like, "No, I'm not saying that. I just think."
He's like, "Bitch, I am."
He's like, "You should just get checked out." And so that's whenever Mom and Kathy and him are talking on the way home. And she's like, "There's just too much stress. I put too much pressure on you to get this house. Like, I'm sorry." And he's like, "No, everything's fine. Like, everything's okay." And he's kind of sounds okay because he's out of the house. So it seems like he's fine.
And it's really remarkable how quickly the like spell
and wears off and goes on him. Yeah, because it's literally as soon as he walks into the property, it's like, evil dad. Evil. Yeah, and so they end up going home, and that's whenever they're like, and before that, we get a little scene where Chelsea tells Billy where Billy's watching her, and he tells her, she tells him she wants to go get
teddy bear. He's hungry, and so Billy's like, "Sure, yeah, whatever." And he's like, "Just get back soon. If Mom finds out that I let you out of my sight, she's gonna kill me." And it's like, ooh,
yeah.
But. So they come home and, Chelsea hasn't come back to Billy and Michael yet. And then they're like, where the fuck is Chelsea? And
George they don't even go inside on him. Yeah, they don't. Yeah, because the teddy bear falls.
Has the teddy bear fall right in front of him. And then she's like, "Look at me, Mommy." And
she's on the fucking roof.
On the roof.
Not even the roof, but like a very narrow, like the tip, the corner, the top.
It's where when you draw a house, it has a triangle roof. She's on the top of the triangle.
Where it meets.
Yes.
Fucking wild.
She's like a little gymnast.
When I was watching this, I lost my mind.
You were like,
I literally lost my mind. I thought
get her down.
I was her fucking parent in that moment. I wanted to beat her ass.
You were crawling up to the TV trying to
I was like, what the fuck, Chelsea? What the actual fucking fuck, Chelsea?
Get down.
Get the fuck down from there. If I have to get the fuck up there.
I hope you jump. No.
Literally. Oh my God, I would have been pissed and like freaking out because that's such a scary, like, damn, what the fuck? And then damn right, if one child dies that way, CPS is going to take the other two away. Come on now.
Where were you that your child was able to get on the roof?
Well, sorry, my child was so dumb to climb all the way on the top of the fucking
I was like, my
triangle.
brothers and I climbed on the roof all the time, but we lived in a trailer house.
But also,
that's one story.
That was like that was like 4 stories almost with the attic. That's crazy.
It's a massive fucking house.
Yeah.
That is up there like... that's at least 3 stories.
I got really heated just because I was thinking about that, man. And
but
so
Mama Kathy starts scaling the house like a fucking pro.
She does. She gets up there because George is struggling. He tries to get the ladder, but doesn't really come to effect, really, because then he ends up just running through the house as well, right?
Yeah. He goes to the next level down onto the little attic
patio.
or what's that called?
Balcony. Yeah.
Yes, porch.
Yeah, balcony porch thing. It's a big ass house, you guys. It's a balcony porch wraparound ish. And so, anyways, they she's trying to like catch Jody, get to her, but Jody's like, or not,
Chelsea.
sorry, Chelsea, my bad. But Jody is essentially like sliding more, because she ends up falling, and then the mom catches her, and that's when the mom's like holding on to her. She had
said she's up there, and Kathy's like, "What are you doing? Like, come here."
Oh yeah, because Jody told her to go up there, right?
And she's like, Jody says, like, I have to go. Like, I have to go. If I want to go see Daddy, I have to go, or something. Or no, that's what she turns around.
She tells her that after.
She says, I have to go with Jody, Mommy. Yeah. And then she just jumps.
Yeah.
Off the fucking house.
Literally. She jumps. She leaps to her death.
Rather, she just kind of walks off the house.
And so that's when the mom does catch her by the little suspenders.
Yeah.
And she's holding on to her. And then she's like sliding, and she can't. The little girl ends up slipping. And that's whenever George ends up catching her and pulling her onto the balcony. And they're like, what the fuck? And that's whenever. This is where we have the mom yelling at her, as she should. What
are you doing?
Like, why were you doing that? And that's whenever she says, well, Jody said she would have taken me to Daddy.
And that they could stay here and they could play forever.
And ever and ever. Also, Chloe is acting. She's acting. She's eating this up for a little kid.
She was. She was doing a good job.
And then so she was like, because I think Mommy or someone says Daddy's in heaven. And I'm like, Daddy's in fucking hell.
Yeah.
But anyways.
And then George is fucking around the corner and he's like,
what's the matter with you?
What's the matter with this family? And I was like, what the fuck, George? What's the matter with you?
More specifically, he says, what's the matter with you people? Wacko family.
Wacko family.
Like, I'm like, oh, damn. And she hears it and she's just like,
I would have been like, okay, fuck you, bitch. Yeah. I'm leaving. And then he starts moving his shit to the basement.
To the basement. Yeah. He's going to go sleep in the basement. And that's whenever we have Kathy going to go see the priest the next day.
Yeah. Now they're finally bringing in a priest.
Yep. Goes to him.
Major difference from the first one.
Oh yeah. She's talking to him on the bench, and she's like, I think
Father
there's
Calloway.
Evil in my house. And he's like, well, there was one, family that came to me with this problem a while back ago. And she's like, the DeFeos. And he's like, how do you know? And
she's like, you know them?
She's like, I'm living in their house.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. And he's already like, what the fuck? Oh, shit. And he's like, this is bad. And even the way she said their name, the DeFeos, it was very like sinister, like very like, yeah.
Yeah.
And
carry some weight.
And then that's whenever the next scene is we have to the house, and George is making Billy hold fucking wood
as he axes it, which is the most
crazy,
terrifying thing.
And Billy is crying. He does not want to do it. He's terrified, obviously, as one would.
Hands could get axed off.
And that's whenever we have him chopping down, and then Billy pulls away just in the nick of time. He still, I don't think, would have like did anything, but still, even with that wood splitting, his hands, I don't know, but that's crazy. That's crazy.
I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, no. And so George is then at night watching some like home videos of the family and stuff, being really happy, and we see like demon faces on Billy and stuff, and he's just like
he's like smiling, coughing, and then
he looks very sick.
The face turns like creepy and the film burns away.
Yeah.
And
very
stuff,
sinister.
Yeah.
Vibes. And that's a good one. We should cover those. Those are really sinister 1 and 2. The first one's better though. And so that's whenever we have Chelsea and the mom are sleeping together, because I guess she's feeling like she needs to protect her baby after what just happened that day. And we have George waking up again, and
to all the windows
are
and
open.
The front door being open, which I felt like was supposed to be a bit of a callback to when the doors literally exploded off the hinges.
Yeah.
And the first one, original. Yeah.
And we have at this point, I think he hears Harry barking, right? Because he's like, what the fuck? And so he ends up going out to the is it the boathouse? Yeah, the boathouse, right?
And I was like,
and
this is
this is where you already know where it's going. Yeah.
They really need a new electrician because none of their stuff is working.
Yeah.
He's like going out there trying to turn on all the lights. They're like blowing out.
And without like trying to give too much detail, he ends up going into the boathouse, and
a figure rushes past him, and so he just starts axing at it. And it looked like a human, like the spirit, like the shadow looked like a person, but turns out that was just a manipulation, and it actually ended up being Harry.
Yeah, he kills him.
He axes him right to death. Poor bub.
Yeah, George is not looking great after this because he immediately realizes. I feel like he comes out of it for a second, and I think he realizes like, oh shit, that was That was Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then he like curls up on the dock, doesn't he? And
he doesn't look
Kathy's
great.
looking from the window. She's like watching him in the fetal position on the dock.
That's right. That's right. Because he crawls out. And that's whenever she's like, something ain't right.
Yeah.
And that's whenever I think she points it out to him or something.
She does.
They
Yeah.
start
She
having an
literally
argument.
sits him down and she's like, something is wrong here. And we need to get the fuck out of here. And he was
calls
like,
her stupid.
How did you get so fucking stupid? And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
None of this is good.
And he's like, they're not leaving.
Yeah.
And then that's cue the boys coming in saying, Mommy, we can't find Harry.
And he's like, Harry ran away. And then Billy's like, Harry has never run away. And so, yeah, the family's in discourse. And that's whenever we have the next day, I guess, the priest's father shows up.
Father Calloway.
Father shows up and he comes, and it's kind of like a similar-ish situation that happens in the 79 version, the original one, whenever the father went into the house.
Gets in there, he says the doll that Chelsea has was, he's like, where did she get that doll? And she was like, oh.
It was here.
It was here with the house. And he says like it was Jody's, and he was like, well, that Jody DeFeo was buried with that doll. And he was like, dun, dun, dun.
Really creepy.
Yeah.
So that doll should be 6 feet under.
Yup.
So we have the father praying over the house.
He pulls out that purple stole, kisses it, and we get our first fly.
Yeah, because he ends up in the room, one of those rooms, and it's whenever all the fucking flies start coming in, and they come in through the air vent, just like push him down, make him fall to the floor, and they're like biting him, and he hears a voice say, "Get out."
Just like the original one did. And even like with all of this, conveniently there's a cross on the door handle, so whenever it inverts whenever the door is locked or something. And so that was like, okay, why does this one, if they have such an issue with like the holy water like boiling on the ground and shit, why are they allowing this cross,
the little cross
door
to
handle?
be in here all the time?
I don't know.
And so he ends up fleeing the house. Kathy's running after him, being like, why are you leaving? Why are you leaving? He does not give her an answer. He just ends up peeling off, just like the other one.
None of them giving answers as to why they're leaving.
Yeah, because they're so traumatized by, I guess, the evilness that they felt, the presence. And that's whenever I think George does like a fucking scary pop up from behind her.
And he's saying like, it's okay, I'm here. And I'm like, that's not reassuring at all. Not coming from you, but
and
not right now.
At one point he hears Harry barking again.
Yep,
but
he can still hear.
Harry is not alive.
He wakes up to Harry barking.
Yeah, and Ryan and George is slipping out at this moment.
This is when Kathy is watching from the window because he hears Harry barking. He goes outside.
That's right.
And he sees someone like walking outside of their house. I feel like I put who the fuck is walking outside of their house. So I don't know.
It's also storming and it's kind of hard to see. It's dark, so it's kind of like those shadowy and stuff.
And he's like on the dock. His head looks like it's about to explode. His veins are protruding. It looks very painful.
And the mom is watching and she's like, that's weird.
Yeah.
And then we get our day 28.
The last day.
Yeah. And so she ends up going to the public library. She's doing some research. She's looking through all the old newspaper
She barges in like
things.
Even before it was open, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
She was just like, let me in.
Yeah. And she it's making it seem definitely more supernatural. She's going through all of this and she's seeing like the voices made Butch do it, and then we get to
like how simultaneously like
we're also getting George
telling the history, and George is uncovering it,
like going through it
because
like
he's now
it,
like
essentially
broken down that wall in between, and we find those morgue tables and the little chambers of torture basically. And yeah, she's sitting there researching it and kind of reading it for us. And then he's like actually discovering it. Yeah. And I thought that was a pretty cool way to do it, I suppose. And she sees the catch him and kill him in the book scribbled in the book from the DeFeo murders.
Which then leads her to finding or looking up Jeremiah Ketchum.
Ketchum. Yep.
And at the same time, I think George sees maggots or something.
Yeah. He had just broken down the wall, and behind it there were maggots.
Oh, I hate maggots. That's why I wrote it in my notes. And then she's looking up Jeremiah Ketchum, and that's whenever we find out that he was leading a mission there for Indians. I guess that's the term they use then for Native Americans. And then they George at the same time is breaking through the cinder blocks. We have her looking at all this information, how it ended up coming to light that he actually was not doing anything good and was actually like torturing them and was killing. I said they had like 20 bodies or something ended up being found in the lake. And then at the to like leave his presence over the house, Jeremiah slit his neck and his blood fell over the house. So
and she sees that little torture device that Michael had found earlier in the film. Yeah, that's brought there.
Which leads me to wonder, I wonder if she had seen it at some point, maybe,
and then was like
in the house, like laying on the table because George brought it in, you know. And then that's whenever she goes to the father again and she's just like, why did you leave? What's wrong? And that's when he's telling her, like, you need to leave this house.
Get your family out of there.
I couldn't save the DeFeos, but if I can save y'all need to leave. Yeah. And that's whenever he's just like, that house scares the fuck out of me. Yeah. Essentially.
Then we get this scene of George being like covered in the blood of what's his face?
Jesus. Sorry.
Yes. No, but with Ketchum's blood as he like slits his throat. That scene was
kind of silly. And it also adds to like him being like, this is why he's so influenced, I feel like. And that's whenever she calls because she's just like, George, we need to get the kids, we need to leave, we need to go. And he's
of course the phone line works, but you really hope it doesn't because she made a mistake calling him.
And so he's yanks the phone out of the wall. He doesn't even say anything to her, right? And that's whenever she's yeeting all the way back home. She gets home, she's yelling for the kids, like, we gotta go, let's go, kids. She's looking for George and she finds him in the boathouse. And he's
just looking weird as fuck.
Yeah, he's looking hella possessed. And that's whenever he sees like a figure in the he sees something move or something in the water and he shines the light on her and she ends up falling in the water.
Yeah.
And then her hair, oh my God, ends
magically stops a rotor.
Ends up getting caught.
Getting sucked into it and her blood and skull being ripped open.
Yeah.
That's what
she had so much hair that it causes the blades on the fan of the motor for the boat to stop. And he ends up then reversing it and then doing it again to like, you know, at this point, he tries to like get her out because he's like halfway George, halfway not. Yeah. And then she's like, you just tried to fucking kill me. Yeah. And so she ends up running away from him.
And the way he's looking at her too in that scene, like when she's just stuck there before he even presses the buttons, it's like he doesn't even recognize her. He's just looking at her like, what are you?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
His eyes were so weird.
And that's when, like, he can't tell if it's like a spirit, a ghost, or like something bad. Obviously, he doesn't think that it's her.
Yeah.
And then that's whenever we have her going back in the house because she's looking for Chelsea. And fucking Chelsea, is in the fucking basement. And that's whenever they see all the caskets that George made for all of them.
Coffins with all their names on them.
And that's pretty creepy. And at this point, we're like, let's go. George comes in and it's pretty chill, honestly. And she's just like walks out and closes the door on him.
Yeah.
But somehow he opens it up and he has a fucking shotgun. And that's whenever he starts going up. Billy puts like a little dresser on the door to kind of keep him down there. But he ends up breaking through that anyways. And they end up running through the house because
all the poltergeist stuff is now starting to take place.
That's right, because they tried to go through the front door.
And he, you know, had tried to like nail the window shut because they kept opening. And all of the windows, like the nails are windows getting like screwed tighter.
Yeah.
And all the doors are getting locked. Everything is, the spirits are basically helping them stay trapped in the house.
Yeah.
At one point he had said, I think she misses her daddy. And that was creepy too. And I was like, oh no.
Oh, because he was holding like her cheeks and everything all like aggressive.
He was like, don't kill her.
And when they do try to run out, the doors, like the house closes the door on them. So they can't leave. So then she and the kids run, I guess, up the stairs, going up all the way to the tippy top of the house. And George gets out. He's obviously behind him. We get some like slow-mo shots of Kathy running through the house with the kids. And then that's whenever, at this point, I think he ends up catching up to them, right?
Yeah, he shoots a giant hole in the door or something. But they've now escaped through the portal to hell, the eyeball windows, onto the roof.
And he's like, these kids are out of control. And I'm like, he's lost it. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's whenever they're on the roof. They end up going on the roof. And that's whenever, which I'm just like, why is it got to be why are we getting back on the roof?
Yeah.
They end up getting on the roof. He's shooting through the fucking roof, which is really scary.
Yeah, because he can hear them through on the like the slope of the roof.
Kind of climbing on it. And so he does get up there. He clips on the roof, but Billy hits him good with like a pipe or something he found up there.
Yeah,
I don't know, like one of a railing or something
on the roof. He breaks it off though, and he smacks him with it. Him real good, and that's whenever we have him rolling off, and his gun and everything hitting the floor, the ground, I should say, anyways. And granted, it's like storming, it's pouring rain this whole time. In some
mud, yeah. So it's like soft for him. And that's whenever they start climbing down the chimney. Oh, they try to go back inside the house, but she sees the ghost in the window. In the window, and she's like, "What the fuck?"
Which I felt like was supposed to kind of be our pig monster through the window, as from the original.
Yeah.
And awful convenient that the chimney had a ladder all the way down it, because I feel like. No, they don't. And so they end up climbing down the chimney. They do get all the way down, thankfully, but that's whenever he comes back to. He grabs Billy. He puts Billy on the wall, and he's gonna like try to shoot him. No. He's got the axe. He's gonna try to axe him, but she finds the shotgun. Oh, and before that, I'm sorry. Before that, they all got down, and then she was like, "Michael, jump! Like, come on!" And I was like, Michael was like, "No, I'm scared." And I was like, "Michael, you little shit! Like, get down right now!"
I feel like that's always the case with
you
little
are
kids.
Gonna die. You're gonna get your whole family killed because you won't get off the roof.
And so they're making their Billy's up against the wall. That's whenever she puts the gun on what's his name, George, and then he like she's like gonna shoot him, but he's like turns around and he's like, "Shoot me," essentially, because he puts it right to his like forehead, but she can't shoot him. So he turns around and he's gonna like kill Billy because she can't shoot him, and she ends up hitting him in the back of the head with the butt of the gun. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, it's the butt.
The butt gun. And so
just back the fuck up.
Yeah, and he ends up going knocking out. And he also
he saw the ghost face on Billy whenever he had him against the wall too. So it's like slipping into reality too, not even only on the film.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so that's whenever he's knocked out, but just for a little bit. And that's whenever he comes to, and we have a scene where it looks like he axes the mom in the stomach.
Abdomen.
And I'm like, oh, the fuck.
I was like, oh, fuck.
They really did this one different.
He got her. And then it was a vision.
It was a vision. And that's when he's telling her, like, kill me or I'm going to kill you. Please kill me.
Or I'll kill you.
And she's like, nobody's dying tonight. And she hits him again with the butt of the gun. And so
it's like, whatever.
They end up tying him up and taking him to the boathouse to get him on the boat.
Doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, you have a car. Just drive away.
Right.
What? Why would you go
into the boat?
Especially in the weather. Like there's just so many
other ways, right?
Yeah, questions I had with that. I was like, what? Why?
And so the kids are even like, why are we taking him? And she's like, you'll understand once we get him away from the house.
Billy was speaking facts. He was like, let's just leave him here. And I was like,
he just tried to kill all of us. And so that's whenever
and he's like, also having weird visions, George is.
Yeah, because he does come back to again, but he doesn't necessarily try to attack them because he does get on the boat. And that's whenever they start driving away.
And it doesn't look like she drove far at all.
No.
I was like, what the hell?
Also, we get the sun coming up a little bit. It's like daytime now. And he's just like, don't look at it. Don't look back at it. Let's just keep going. Keep going, please.
And then we get this comical ending scene.
Oh, yeah. And then like while they're on the lake, it's like the Let's never come back for their stuffs ever again. And then we get this. I hated the ending on this one. I thought it was stupid because we just get a shot of Jody there in the house. And
she's screaming, and then we're seeing everything go back to how it was, like all the chairs that were moved earlier, all the windows like closing back or something, kind of going back, and like it's ready to haunt again
the next family. And then we see her getting essentially drugged to hell, I guess.
Yeah, because she sits there, we see like a little tear, and then shoom, pulled through the floor, but the dolly's left.
Yep.
And then it ends.
And it's the end of 2005's Amityville Horror.
That's right.
I'm just gonna go straight into it. I'm probably gonna give it like a 2.
2? Why is that?
2 because
what did you give? I don't even remember.
For the other one, we gave it a.
You gave it 3.5. I gave it 3.75.
Yeah,
that's right.
I'm gonna
almost change it to a 4.
Yeah, that one compared to this one, it just wasn't like. I think because watching the 79 one and actually knowing like the real facts that happened.
The 79 one stayed so true to the actual hauntings or
what happened.
The supposed
the
hauntings.
Book, at least.
Yeah.
And so it just didn't it just didn't stay close. I didn't like the ghost showing for most of it. I didn't like that part. I also didn't think that they were rendered well. Like it was like CGI or something. Like I didn't think it looked like they didn't look like they belonged in the film. It looked fake, really fake, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the ending. I didn't like, honestly, I didn't even really like the kids. To be honest, in this one, I didn't even like Chloe in it. To be honest, other than that one acting scene where she was telling the mom like, "I wanted to go see Daddy," whatever.
Yeah,
I just
she wasn't as creepy as the original girl.
Yeah,
she gave me the fucking creeps. I don't know what it was about her, but
and then in this one, it just wasn't. It just didn't hit for me the same. But I won't say it's like horrible. It's good for what it was, I guess.
It's still worth the watch, probably.
The only thing that I will say is I did enjoy that this one was an hour and a half. The other one was almost like 2 hours.
Yes.
I felt like the other one could have cut some out a little bit.
Like I said at the live show, it could have cut 30 minutes out.
Yeah.
Had it not had every single fucking shot of the house that it did. I would love to. We should do a drinking game where we should do that.
Yeah. We should try that out.
Where we just have a shot every time. We would literally be dead.
Drunk.
How about we have a beer and we just take a sip of our beer every time the house shows?
A little chug. So what would you rate this one? What's your boo rating?
I mean, I still enjoyed it overall. I do not, and of course this recording is lost to time now, but I had said that I think I like this version better than the original, and I do not.
Yeah.
So I retract my statement. People change. We make different choices.
We're older, we are wiser.
Different opinions.
We have seen a lot more scary movies.
Yes. And I appreciate the little nods this one had to the original film. However, there was just so much change. And like after actually doing back to back, like with the research and then watching the film and knowing just how much of it was this like change. How much of it was true in the first, or you know, true to the story in the original 79 film, and for it to not be like almost acknowledged at all. And this one was a little odd to me, and I didn't like that as much. I didn't like Jody. I didn't like the babysitter.
I didn't like
that was fucking weird as hell.
Yeah, it's just weird.
And such a contrast from the babysitter in the original with like the metal
she was like
face.
A meek babysitter, yeah.
And she had like, you know, the whole headgear and stuff. And then this one's like titties out. Like what the hell? But yeah, overall, I don't think I liked this one as much. And I'll probably still give it a 2.5 though.
A 2.5?
Yeah.
So 2 2.5s.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I did. Oh, did you give it a 2.5?
I gave it a 2.5.
Oh, I thought you said 2.
Maybe, yeah. 2. I gave it no.
You can give it a 2.5.
It's a 2.
2. Okay.
I gave it a 2. You're right.
But yeah, it's not the worst. It's entertaining to watch.
Yeah, it's an hour and a half. You get to see Ryan Reynolds' abs.
Yeah, and he did a surprisingly good job in the film. I was honestly a little shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, especially coming from everything else that he had done.
Yeah, but then like fun facts is I actually in an interview one time, he didn't enjoy making a horror movie, so he's never made a horror movie since.
Oh.
Yeah.
He was like, I hate this so much.
That was his one and only one. Yep.
I love it. I did ask someone else their thoughts on the 2005, and this is a older listener, Derek, and he said 2.5 boots. He said didn't hate it, but kind of hard to take Ryan Reynolds seriously. And I was like, meh.
Well, like, because I read all of his other work, yeah.
Yeah. And then he was the one who was like, why do they need to have a shirtless scene in like a horror movie? And I was like, well, the OG has several. So
is this a man?
Yeah.
Who is it?
Derek.
Oh, Derek, you said.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know Derek.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you would have been fine with it being maybe a titty scene.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
you wouldn't have minded some tits?
Yeah.
Give us some shirtless Ryan Reynolds every now and then.
Give us a penis, please.
Yes.
Sorry. That's just my opinion.
We need more penises. The only one we've gotten so far with the penis, what was Midsummer?
Yeah. But thank you for your input, Derek. We do enjoy your input. But yeah. I can see also his where he says like it's hard to take Ryan Reynolds a little serious because of like all his previous work at this point was just like what the like
Just Friends and
well no, I think even before that he did those raunchy films. They're like American Pie, but they're not.
Yeah.
It's he's played some like I can't remember. They're like college movies. And so And then he's done a lot of comedies.
Yeah.
So I can feel that.
It's kind of like when I try to watch Daniel Radcliffe in anything.
I'm so sorry, Daniel. I only see Harry.
And
I only see Harry.
Lady in Black or whatever, Woman in Black.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's a Dementor. This Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing here? But yeah. Anyways, so that is 2005's The Amityville Horror.
Yeah.
You got a 2 and a 2.5
so it's all
from your booze.
0.3 maybe? I don't even know.
2.25.
2.25, yeah. Mm-hmm. And once again, we're in the lovely Rogue Media Network studios.
That's right.
They always take care of us. Please make sure you listen to us and all the other podcasts that they have on roguemedianetwork.com.
That's right. And even though it's not spooky season anymore, you can listen to us anytime, anywhere. And biggest 2 platforms to do so are
Spotify
and also Apple Podcasts. And wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because it's the only way we can get ahead in this world.
People have been leaving us reviews. Keep leaving them.
Yeah. We got another
a
nice
good one.
Yeah.
And then what else do we say, Caitlin?
And if you want to reach out to us and let us know your thoughts on any of the horror films we've covered, horror films you want us to cover, we've already got one that I think we're planning on covering for Thanksgiving from one of our listeners. And so we're excited to do that from Courtney. Yeah. Sorry, I blanked for half a second, but it was Courtney.
Got it.
And so if you want to let us know what films you want covered, please reach out to us on Instagram, and that is at
Boobaes Podcast.
Oh, right.
Yeah. BOOBAES. All one word, because we're your boobaes, not your boobabes. That was a little chopped
I'm sorry.
up.
I was supposed to say, and that is at Boobaes Podcast, or Instagram at Boobaes Podcast, and that is
how I spelled it just a while ago. No, you're good. I was like, wait, was that different? Or was I off? Anyways, but
any sort of change throws us off.
Yeah. But anyways, you guys, fun episode. Thank you for listening.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Hope
Even
it's a good one.
November 1st.
And we're going to be counting down already. 364 to the next one. Or 65 to the next one.
364.
Yeah, 64.
Sorry, that's just Nightmare Before Christmas. Anyways.
Until next time.
Bye, babe.
Bye, birds.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.